please subscribe to help you and your motorcycle perform better.
Dave Williams, sporting a fresh haircut, here with today's video. It's the S1000RR electronic suspension version. Some of the principles in this video apply to any bike with electronic suspension. And if you're contemplating getting a bike with electronic suspension, this will give you some idea of what you're in for. As usual, we start with street bikes and end with track bikes. We've got a 15, 16, 17, and 18. The last S1000RR is a dedicated track machine, but it's a good segment no matter what bike you ride, because the rider describes various behaviors his bike is exhibiting, and Dave gives the appropriate suspension changes to solve said behaviors. I'll offer my own personal opinion on electronic suspension after the preview, which starts now.
My name is Dave Moss. I tune approximately 3,500 bikes per year. This is Two Clicks Out.
Now steal the microphone master.
What year do we have?
2017.
How many miles?
About 4,000.
Okay, let's turn the ignition on so your suspension will work. Okay. Canyons and any
Canyons
track?
Only on the weekend.
Only on the weekend.
Well, I don't ride it during the week. I only ride in the canyons.
Okay, thank you. How long have you owned it?
About 4 months.
4 months? Okay.
All the riding that I have, it was no preload on the back, and I added a little bit before the last ride, so I also dropped the front down 2 lines.
Because?
Because it was not turning in very well.
Okay, what do you weigh?
215.
All right. And then how aggressive are you riding the bike? So-so?
Pretty aggressive, but I'm more tamed because I feel like the bike wants more, and the bike kind of scares me. So I'm going to go to my first track day at Thunder Hill on the 5th. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, what year is yours?
16.
16, and how many miles are on it?
3,000.
Okay, so it's still new. Have you put on any weight or lost any weight?
I lost a little bit.
Because the front actually is stiffer than it was before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lost a little bit because I couldn't fit on the suit.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, you've got to lose weight.
Yeah. I don't want to buy another suit.
No, not at that price. So let's take a couple out.
That's my old suit right there.
Oh, okay.
Back in the days when you did mine, when I had a Gixxer, that was the suit I was wearing.
Now we're going to go to +1.
In the shock.
In the shock, because it says rear. Now we're going to compression at +1. It's lighter, so we'll take that compression to 0.
Thank you, sir.
More comfortable?
The front end is very responsive. I feel confident entering now, gassing also. But
Good.
then if I go to the track, what should I do with like the electronic suspension?
So at this point, you're going to spend the morning with this. Not a bad guess.
You going all the way in?
No.
No?
Always want to see where you are first.
Okay.
Then you can go from there. So for that, we're going to go to 3 turns out.
Okay.
And then your rear shock preload is back here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're aware of that.
Based upon what their settings tell me, but I know I'm wrong.
Yeah, you put a bunch of preload in.
Yeah.
9 turns in. What year is the bike?
It's 18.
Okay, so it's brand new. Take a seat. Right now you should be at all factory defaults, which is 0. So feet up, grab the bars for me. Is this the first track day on it?
Yeah.
So it's over 600 miles then?
Yeah.
Otherwise you'd be sitting there at 90 miles an hour. Everybody has to go through a baseline.
You're going to put in a baseline that you always do on these bikes?
No, a baseline to his weight. Yes, sir.
Okay. First time back on this side in a long time.
Okay.
I had settings from you last year. Since then, I've redone this. Has had the forks redone. They didn't do anything to the shock.
Okay.
Put it back to those settings. Thing is a pogo stick right now. I don't know if, I mean, I'm uncomfortable right now. I don't know if I'm holding on too strong or too hard, like not letting the bike do its thing, but it... Okay, so, went out, came in halfway and upped the compression in the rear. It still feels like it's wallowing like crazy.
Catch the full video at davemosstuning.com. Before I get into the electronic suspension, a little heads up, we've got suspension myth number 4 coming out later this week. We have suspension myths 1 through 3 already here on the channel and on the website. They're free view, freemium content, so be sure to check those out. So what about all this fancy schmancy electronic suspension stuff? Well, I can tell you this, it's not ready for race time. Nobody would race these electronic dynamic suspension systems even if they could. They just can't cope with even A group pace speeds. So we're talking, you get into the mid fast group at your track, so we're talking 115, 120% of the lap record at whatever track you ride. These systems just can't make the dynamic changes, those are the changes on the fly, that they need to. It's not a problem of the ECU and computing power, we know that they can do any of that. It's getting those decisions manifested through the valving systems and the servo motors and everything that's going on in there. They just can't keep up. All the riders, regardless of make or model, always like it better when Dave puts their suspension in the fixed mode, not the dynamic mode. So he's making changes electronically to the valving just like he would manually with a screwdriver. It's fixed, it's not dynamic. Once people reach that pace, that A group pace, they all enjoy the bike better when it's in the fixed mode. So let's just take the Ducati for example. It's probably the most sophisticated electronic suspension out there. Who knows about the Honda? I think 3 people have bought the bike so far. I'm kidding on that. We actually have one for a video later on. It has 3 modes, if I remember correctly. It has the dynamic mode, just the generic dynamic mode. Then it has custom dynamic mode, and then custom fixed. Everybody, once they reach that pace, they want the custom fixed. Even the custom dynamic can't cope with the changes. So take the S1000RR. It's got rebound and compression in the shock, but the forks only have what's called damping. The rebound and the compression are in one circuit. So when you make a change to damping in the forks, you're making a change to both compression and rebound at the same time. You can't split the two, so you can't fine-tune it in that manner either. Electronic suspension will just remain a gimmick to sell bikes until the FIM changes the rules and allows dynamic suspension in racing. When that happens, we're going to get some pretty sophisticated and beautiful suspension systems. But you might think, oh, well, Dave Moss will be out of business. Not so fast. Just think about what it takes with the electronics they have now in pro racing. It takes minimum 1, if not 15 engineers to manage all the electronic systems that they have now, and they haven't even started with suspension, which is by far the most complicated system. Lorenzo doesn't ride the same electronic settings, engine management and all that stuff that Marquez will, nor does Rossi the same as Vinales or Andrea Dovizioso with Petrucci. They're all different, and suspension is going to be even more crazy. I think when we get those kinds of systems, Dave Moss will be in more demand than ever before. Schedule a remote tuning appointment for you and your bike with Dave via text, email, Facebook, etc. Contact Dave on Facebook or by email, dave@davemosstuning.com.